What's going on, investors? AK for Fallible here. And in this video, I'm going to give you another mental model to make your trading even simpler so that you can become more profitable. And this is part 3 of our simplicity versus complexity series. If you haven't seen that first video, well, I'll link to it above. Make sure you check it out. So in this series, we've already talked about ruthless reductionism as a mental model. Well, today we're going to go over the next mental model, which is Occam's Razor. And if you're wondering who Occam is, he's actually Gillette's half-brother. Way back when, back in the olden days, Gillette and Occam's father, while he was a blacksmith during the day, he was a huge player during the night. So when one of his side pieces got pregnant with Occam, he knew there was no way he could bring that baby back to Gillette's mom, because you know how that would go. She would not have that. So instead, he took Occam and dumped him at the steps of a university. So while Gillette grew up to follow in his blacksmith father's footsteps with a special focus on razor blades, young Occam Snow followed his own path into philosophy at the university. But just like Gillette, he was still enticed by razors because, well, I guess it was in his blood, but he approached these razors in a different way. Hence the philosophy of Occam's Razor. Now, of course, none of that is true, but it's a nice story nonetheless, and I had to fill some time. The real story is that in the Middle Ages, a philosopher by the name of William of Ockham, he came up with his theory of Occam's Razor, which basically says that when there are two opposing hypotheses or theories, the simpler one is the one that always wins out in the end. But why is this? Well, when it comes to hypotheses and theories, they're all just your individual interpretation of the world. They are not fact. And that's regardless of who you are. No matter how smart, they are in the end just theories. And a theory is only as good as its ability to be tested. And we talked about this concept in the last video about the ruthless reductionism, which if you haven't seen, I'll link to above. Now, like we said, if you're in the markets for the right reason, which is to profit, then you don't really care about being right. Your ego isn't in the equation. You're just trying to get paid. But to get paid, you need to be able to test your process. You got to see what's working and what's not so that you can improve it. And to be able to do that effectively, you want a simple process. If it's too complicated, you're not going to be able to tell what does what. See, the thing about complex theories that you hear about is that usually they start out as simple theories, but then somewhere along the way they fail. And when they fail, instead of just throwing it out, whoever is coming up with this theory decides to add more complexity into it. They add more and more stuff in it, trying to fix it. And they really end up just making it so convoluted that they're not even sure themselves whether it's useful or not anymore. And at that point, they develop something really dangerous, which is false confidence in their theory. Now, like I said before, simple is better, because the faster you can test and evaluate a process, the faster you can see what's actually contributing to the bottom line, and all the rest you can throw out. So take a look at this chart. This is what an academic's approach looks like. You end up developing an explanation or model with a set of assumptions. Then you throw more theory and more assumptions into it, and then even more theory and more assumptions, until eventually you achieve that false confidence. And then you run that model and its assumptions in the market. And what happens? Well, you blow out. The model doesn't perform like it's supposed to with all those assumptions. And then you spend years trying to figure out where you went wrong. But here's what a trader focused on profits does. You start with an explanation and a model with some assumptions, and then you ruthlessly reduce it to the bare essentials of that model. Then you take it and you test it and you evaluate it. Do you get negative results? Is it not working? Well, then you go back to the drawing board. Do you get positive results? Well, then you just keep running it, right? You do what works. See, theory and practice, those are the two building blocks that you need to make any process. They're both important, but if you think like an academic, then you're going to spend way too much time constructing the theory and not enough time doing the actual practice. A good trader does the opposite. He focuses most of his time on the practice and a lot less just pontificating about theory. So please, when you're trading, be results oriented. Don't be like those academics who have their head up in the clouds. And if you like this video, then make sure you subscribe and hit that bell for notifications of future videos. We publish 3 a week, all trading and business related. So subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video. Stay fallible out there. Bye.